I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
It's every Red Raiders' favorite podcast. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
It is Tech Talk on Double T 97.3, DoubleTSportsNetwork.com, and the Double T 97.3 mobile app, brought to you by our friends at Happy State Bank. I'm Clint Scott. He's Dr. Mike Gustafson. Kyler Brown, a.k.a. DJ Pudding, also kind of being a shepherd today, making sure everyone's staying on task, paying attention to what time it is on the clock, all that good stuff.
Just doing my best.
See, I'm so behind. He's talking right now, and my headphones aren't even in so I can hear what he's saying. I also can't read lips, so that doesn't help either. Roman Hernandez behind the glass as well, helping take care of us. We will go 3 hours today up till 6 o'clock here on Double T 97.3. Tonight at 7, it is Cowboys Crosstalk. I believe that is our first one this year. They'll break down the 0-1 start. They'll look ahead to the matchup with the Giants. Over on 100.7, the score right now, Texas Rangers versus Milwaukee. And Gus, the Rangers are trying to get a sweep today. That's what the goal was coming into the start at 1 o'clock over on 100.7, the score anyways.
Yes, sir. It's Merrill Kelly versus fastball Freddie Peralta. And, that's a big stretch. There was a few times back in August, mid to late August, I was like, Rangers really need to peel off a 12 for 14, 12 out of 14, some kind of not a monster winning streak, that'd be great, but just one of these deals that they cluster a bunch of wins together, and I guess 13 of their last 17 is the number that I heard. I think I'm right about that, and so I was, that might have been, I don't know that the words 13 out of their next 17 ever came out of my mouth, but I was thinking,
that's
they need to win 12 of their next 15. I was surprised. I throw out those numbers a lot, and they've done what they need to do to stay in this thing now. A game back of the Astros have been kind of middling, continued to middle around here, and Mariners keep beating the Cardinals. Sorry about that.
Would you get it together?
So the Mariners and the Rangers are closing ground on the Astros, and it looks like we are headed for a interesting last 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, you date back, to that 4-game set with the Royals where they dropped 3 of 4. They're just coming off of a series loss to the Blue Jays. Before that, maybe swept by the Diamondbacks. Either way, feeling real low at that point and starting to take some steps back. I think at that point we're starting to get injury news too, and it's like this is somehow, in my opinion, the lowest that Ranger fans had felt, because even in the the first half of the season when you were going through some lows, it was going up and down, and then you had gotten some more hope, and then it's like, oh man, well there's the rug being pulled right back under. Now you look up and they sweep the Guardians after that, and then they win the series with the Angels. They get another sweep against the Athletics. They drop that other series against the Diamondbacks. Win the series with the Astros. Have already won the series with the Brewers. Again, trying to get a sweep here today. 2.5 back in the AL West. Still game and a half back behind Seattle as far as the wild card goes. But man, this is what I want out of end of the season baseball, and specifically with the AL West. When we came into the season, we kind of had this conversation last year too, like, is this going to be a 3-team race where all 3 teams legitimately have a shot at not just, making the playoffs via a wild card spot, but a legitimate shot to win the division right now? So that's where we are, and I'm glad this is happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to be entertaining.
It just makes October's a really good sports month, and because you're getting the start of hockey and NBA. If you're into that kind of stuff, we'll start. The conversation around college basketball will start to pick up, especially as we progress through the month of October. Then you throw in, and obviously football's cranking by then, and fall sports. Hopefully here we're enjoying a soccer title push. That the Red Raider soccer team's doing their thing, and then throw in maybe some playoff baseball, one or both of our teams here at Raymar. That would be great. But, yeah, that's usually an entertaining month. It's usually one of those things like you don't go home and go, well, what am I going to watch on a Tuesday? Well, how about you pick? Like you got to play out baseball. You could probably have some action by then. Probably have some NHL stuff cranking. Got NBA. What do you like?
You joke, but I may or may not have yesterday been looking through the weeks, like
schedule.
trying to see when's our first like Tuesday, Wednesday sort of game. It's not for a while. We still have a little bit.
Since we're confessing, you know what I peeked at today was I peeked at just the MLB playoff schedule. Not obviously we don't have teams filling in, and there's no times and games and nothing of that level of interest. But I was trying to put my finger on when the thing actually starts, and just to pin that down a little bit. I guess let's see, Clint. 3 weeks from today, we would be deep off into some wild card stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. So. Yeah, but I was peeking at that, and then I was also trying to think
I'm aware that's the amount of time for the amount of series that like the Rangers have or everybody has left to get there. But still, when you put it like in actual, hey, you got 3 weeks. I'm like, oh man, that's
right. And you kind of
right there, man.
Reach out and touch that, as opposed to when you talk about it in May, you go, oh, that's way on. That's way on down the road. But yeah, this headed. This is coming to a head. It'd be great if that series in Houston is just this weekend will be just nip and tuck. Couple of rivals going at it. Hated rivals. I met a kid this morning that told me he was at the game that Altuve in the ALCS a couple years ago, where Altuve hit the home run, and then they had the near scrap there right after that with Bombi. They had their little dust up. Thought they would have a fight there. They were like, man, you picked a good little game to just go see your buddy, and let's go see a playoff game. You nailed that one. You got stories to tell.
When we come back, we'll give you round one of the Juice, today's top headlines. It is Tech Talk on Double T 97.3.
The podcast that finishes your workday in a very Red Raider way. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
It is a Wednesday edition of Tech Talk. You got us on Double T 97.3, DoubleTSportsNetwork.com, and the Double T 97.3 mobile app, brought to you by Happy State Bank. Thank you for joining us, Clint, Gus, Roman, Kyler. Roman has the condition where when he shaves, looks like 10, 15 years younger. Which I used to be that way. Now I still look older, but yeah. I used to be that way. Now when I shave, I just show off the chins. And less like, oh, are you 12 years old? Roman, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
Good. Hit us up on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Thoughts, comments, questions, all of that. Welcome there. Kyler, do we have those McGuire clips? Okay, I should have done this in the break. This is really good professional radio right here. Coach McGuire obviously met with media earlier this week. Also got thoughts from the coordinators that we'll get to today. But I thought this was an interesting question. Somebody asked, like, hey, because you've played two pretty nothing opponents right now. You were supposed to make them look that way. The good news is you did. I get not like overly exciting, and again, not a lot to draw from, but I thought an interesting question with that, from the coach's view, hey, who is someone that maybe has earned more playing time?
Okay, so one that I'm really proud of that could play more, I don't think necessarily does, but I feel really comfortable, is Adam Hill. He's done some really good things. So those other, Cam and Jacoby, now they play more when you're in the games that we're going to be in and stuff like that. And honestly, I'm a little surprised of like Bryson Jones and Leighton and Tristan. Like, great question, but how do you redshirt Tristan Gentry? Let's have clean blocks, and he's a legit returner in college football as a freshman. So, you're sitting there going, he's going to be like Jacoby and Cam, and then you just, again, hope that we get the 5 for 5 right.
And the 5 for 5 he's talking about is the I don't know if it's pending, but it's a lot of suggestions and conversation around the idea of, instead of doing all the red shirt, this guy for development, and just all of the variations of this, you got 5 years to play.
Mm-hmm.
And there may be a possible, like go back to the old days of just a true medical red shirt, somebody that gets wiped out of a season. They may go back to a slightly more restrictive, definition or requirement to get to that. But, so there may be an additional way for somebody to come back and get a 6th year if they need to. But I think they're trying to take some of the legislation out of that. But his whole point there is, why would we, knowing that this thing's out there and it seems like a popular idea, why would we redshirt, for example? He named off 3 or 4 of them, but Leighton, so why redshirt him when by the time, here in another year or two, they could pass that rule, and then you're going, well, man, why do we redshirt that guy? Why not use those dudes as much as we can to help us win, and then see what happens with the legislation later on.
I think, Tristan Gentry has jumped to my, not at the very, very top, but towards the top of like kind of my interest level, was because he has, as Coach McGuire said right there, he has looked electric and has incredible return stats on paper, if not for some penalties that need to be cleaned up in the return game. But I think he's a guy that maybe he's caught most Red Raider fans off guard. And then, he starts with Adam Hill there in that answer. And I'm still curious. I think we'll get a much better answer like this week, where I do think even if you are, hopefully if things go to plan and you're winning by a comfortable amount, you're still seeing like the starters treat this as a full game, because it's a real game. I shouldn't say dress rehearsal, because you need to take Oregon State seriously. And that passing game is real, and Malik Murphy has a real arm. I also really like their running back, Hankerson. But there's also a reason that this is opened as a 24.5-point line. If you're going to make a run to Arlington, you're going to face much better teams than Oregon State. And so in the end, I think you will take care of business. But I've seen some like, hey, are we overlooking Oregon State too much with this Utah stuff?
Fan base might be. I mean, the fans,
they're not. The coaching staff over there is not. I promise you.
That was Coach McGuire, I guess, on the podcast that he does with Gio. He said, because I think Gio alluded to that, and he said, "Oh no, I'm about to go in there and light it up right now," or something. He was basically, like, we're gonna make sure that there's 100% crystal clear focus on this, this week and this game and this opponent. I think he even mentioned texting, I think it was Barron, maybe Rodriguez and somebody else, maybe Wisniewski, and saying, hey, I don't know if that's right though, Wisniewski may not be right, but it was definitely Barron and Rodriguez, and saying, hey, this is we've had some of these games over the past couple of years where we sort of middle, I don't remember, that's my word, but just sort of mediocre performance, and that we got to make sure that this week's right. I remember reading old stuff about Vince Lombardi, who's, notoriously, all the clips of him are hard-driven, old school, all that stuff. And in Instant Replay, Jerry Kramer wrote about it and said the weeks we were playing, the Cowboys and the Browns and the really good teams of that era, he said, it wasn't, he was all business, but the weeks that we were playing the Saints and the Cardinals and the Falcons and the bad teams, he said he was impossible. And so I'm not saying McGuire's going to be impossible, but I think the attention this week on the opponent is crystal clear.
But with that, so okay, like Adam Hill, this is where maybe we'll get our answer. Like for the full season view, what is his carry percentage like? Or because it's it's Jacoby Williams and Cam Dickey's show at the running back spot, but Adam Hill has looked really, really impressive coming in behind him. Certainly enough to hang if anybody was worried, about that as the third stringer. But what is his percentage like moving forward? It is Tech Talk on Double T 97.3.
The podcast put together with Red Raider fans in mind. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
It is Tech Talk on Double T 97.3, DoubleTSportsNetwork.com, and the Double T 97.3 mobile app, brought to you by Happy State Bank. Clint Scott, Dr. Mike Gustafson, DJ Puddin spinning the tracks back there. Roman Hernandez taking care of us as well. 7 o'clock tonight, it is the Cowboys Crosstalk, not the Cowboys Crosstalk. Cowboys Crosstalk, 7 o'clock right here on Double T 97.3, 6 o'clock here in the First United Bank studio over on 100.7 The Score. It is the High School Fan Zone with Randy Rosetta. Kyler isn't just spinning tracks. He also has our play of the day.
That's 30 yards on that play, and I think you see why the Red Raiders like Jacoby Williams with the ball in space.
First down and 10, and he stays in the backfield. Play action Morton. Another great pocket. Another deep pass. Another open receiver. Touchdown Red Raiders, Coy Eakin.
Coy Eakin had a 42-yard touchdown in the win against Kent State, and he had 3 catches for 59 yards, and that's back-to-back games with some big-time touchdowns from Coy Eakin.
Yeah, I like that something you've done in your first couple of weeks, and I think part of it is Baron Morton making the right reads. But just and when you have so many playmakers, say, okay, well, who's open, and then the other thing too is designing and really this is like a good problem to have, but for Coach Leftwich, feeding all the mouths, right? Like when you have a bunch of playmakers, how do you make sure you're utilizing everybody through 2 weeks? I like that you've got to really show, for the most part, all of your feature guys off. Virgil looks great. Reggie Virgil, we talked about this in the break. I think he's a little more physical of a receiver than I expected him to be coming in.
Agree. Like that play he made the other day when it was just Morton just throwing it up over in the corner and saying, "Hey, I'm gonna let my guy go get it." Now he did it. If you're gonna do that, you can do that in single coverage. You can have a safety over there lurking because then. Right. It's 1-on-2 there, and it doesn't play out as well. Safety have better angle, whatever. But yeah, he threw that up and let the big fella go get it. And I'm like you. I'm like, who was that? I'm still
making sure I had the number right.
Yes, exactly. Still at the point where I'm not necessarily learning. I guess there are still some roster names and numbers and things to learn. But the idea of seeing a body out there and going, oh, that's Big Carter. And Big Carter was damaging people too, but yeah, that throw there, I thought was classic. Like it really thought of the old like Leach days, where it's like, hey, we're gonna take one of these shots, we're gonna throw it high toward the back of the end zone. My guy's either gonna catch it or it's second down. Make it a PI penalty and just reset the down there. And I just thought it was, the right thing to do in that spot. And Virgil's impressive.
Yeah, Virgil is more physical than I thought he would be. Still has the speed and athleticism. And then at tight end, Terrence Carter, even though he was billed, is like, yeah, he's a big body, but he's got that freakish nature. Still to see that in person is still surprising. Just some of the things that he can do. Past just, by the way, dragging defenders 10 yards to set up that play. But his agility is, I don't know, it's pretty unique to be just labeled as a tight end. So, some of the things that we heard about as they were committing through the portal, to seeing some of those things in person, has been really, really fun, and I think for the most part everything has been billed the right way for some of these guys. And then you can say the same thing about a lot of the guys on the defense. But speaking of the physicality of, and it's not just Virgil. I mean, you've got big physical receivers across the board, really, with your the starters of your depth chart there.
Yep.
I'm excited to see how that matches up with Oregon State's defense this week, because unless they completely change their head coach's philosophy in a week, they're going to really put pressure on your receivers, and somewhere across the board you're going to find some one-on-one coverage, and can you win those matchups? And I think it's something that you need to do that a lot this weekend. One, just to win the game, but also if you're losing those matchups a bunch against Oregon State, then your battles down the line when you play a little bit better, more talented defenses, probably not going to be that pretty. I think you will, but I just like that you have that specific scheme coming in to town. And you don't when you're booking that, like, it's not like, in basketball sometimes you go like, oh, that Mountain West squad runs something similar to what we'll see against BYU. Let's get a look at it. Let's book them this year. But you don't know that when you're booking this game 5 years ago, and so it just lines up in a way that I like that. And I like their head coach, defensive guy.
Yeah, do too. This game was booked in 2018. I think you and I looked that up. It was announced in 2018. Not this game, but this home and home. So this year and next year. At that point in time, it was a Power 5 conference that they played in, right? They were going to be, when that was booked, they were thinking, hey, maybe we'll catch them right before they play USC and they'll overlook us, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
That doesn't happen anymore. Yeah.
This on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. You can hit us up there as well. That Duke game at Madison Square Garden is going to be big. Yeah, that's my pick. I don't have the champagne, but that would probably. I am predicting that you will see Purdue in your Thanksgiving week.
Yeah.
But since I don't know that for sure,
what up?
Because that could be your highest ranked game of the season.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I think Duke will be a top 10 matchup too. But that Purdue team could be number one when if you see them.
Get Purdue and Illinois. That's the high end of the Big Ten there, I would think. Mercy.
There's what I love about this non-conference, and you've done I think you've learned the lesson that all NCAA Division I basketball coaches have learned. And that is, like, your early season resume, the tournament committee, at least the past couple of years, has put a lot of weight on there. Whether you are a much different team now or not, like, they're putting weight in the schedule. It feels like the percentage changes a little bit every single year, but you are fully committed to testing yourself. And this is something that I think Coach McCasland had made clear, and we go, oh, but look at this non-conference schedule. Where here's what he has been after, is the slate that you have here.
Yes.
And how many other years would I tell you that LSU, your non-conference game against them is probably my fifth most interesting game on that, or fifth most effective game for your non-conference resume. A lot of years you would go, okay, well, LSU's been bad, but are they that bad? Or you go, oh, well, that must mean that you must have a handful of opponents who are actually going to help your resume a lot more, and also get you even more prepared for the Big 12 gauntlet.
Sure.
And that's what you have this year.
You got it. And the LSU just looks good on the schedule in terms of just moving the needle, and the fact that it's a DFW. But think about that. You're two games in 6 days in DFW.
Mm-hmm.
So a Sunday game against LSU, and then the following Saturday against Arkansas. That's pretty good. Here you go, DFW. Take us home, boys.
Take us home. Hit us up on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. We'll get a couple more thoughts and comments from there when we come back. It is Tech Talk on Double T 97.3.
It's every Red Raiders' favorite podcast. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3. Presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
It is Tech Talk on Double T 97.3, DoubleTSportsNetwork.com, and the Double T 97.3 mobile app, brought to you by Happy State Bank. Clint Scott, Dr. Mike Gustafson, Kyler Brown behind the glass, as well as Roman Hernandez. They're taking care of us today, keeping us on the airwaves. And Gus, this just went final over on 100.7 the score, but it is indeed a much-needed sweep for the Texas Rangers. Kyler doing his best impression of a chimney sweep back there. 6-3 final there for the Rangers. And, yeah, that was a good 3-game series there for the old Rangers.
Yeah, that Brewers Club came in with the most wins in the whole entire shooting match. And Clint, you know what? They still have the most wins in the entire shooting match. Mm-hmm. How about that? That's what you just did right there.
Rangers.
Yes, beautiful. Now the Rangers sit one game. I don't know if have these probably haven't been updated yet.
Right now, it's with that game, it should be 2 games back in the division and just a game back behind Seattle in the wild card chase, right? My math is correct there. Before anything else gets played.
Yeah, that's really good. Let's see.
It's a good spot to be.
There it is. Yeah, it really is. Especially, I mean, it's funny.
Did you think they would be in this spot? Yeah. Is a better question.
I remember in 2023, sort of our narrative and just the narrative around that team as they were flailing about this time. They're kind of doing the opposite of this year's team, because they were flailing and trying to give it back on in 2023, as I recall, in September and this year they're making the push. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 2 games back in the division, 1 game back in the wild card, chasing the Mariners. Ooh, that's good stuff.
How about a big day for Jake Berger with a bat in his hands? He tied the Brewers by himself, a solo shot and a 2-run shot, both over center there, both pretty good bombs there that he got a hold of. So
yeah, and you think
good
about
day
that,
for him.
Yeah, and you think about that 2 games back and 1 game back. Now that if that'll continue, that can be carried on into the last week of the season. I mean, I know we got 2.5 left, so there's no time to let off now. But they don't have to just play blistering white hot baseball from here on out. But that series this weekend looms large, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, 100%. Astros, by the way, will continue their series. They lost Game 1 to the Blue Jays yesterday, 4-3. You'll join that one in progress, 7:30 tonight, 100.7 the score. 6 o'clock high school fan zone before it, 6 to 7:30 with Randy Rosetta.
I'll correct myself.
You meant the next series, because the Mets are this.
I know.
Astros after that. My brain had jumped to that this weekend as well.
By next and this weekend, kind of stinking that up. But yeah, this is big road trip here.
Gus, we talked about the Big 12 results over the past couple of days from this last week, and you're kind of in that halfway point, from results from the weekend and then looking ahead to this weekend for the conference. Obviously, a big loss for the Big 12 was Arizona State falling at Mississippi State. I forgot I had saved this, and it just popped back up. Did you see the ESPN short description for that game? Is the first paragraph in their
the description after it happened, or leading into the game?
Yeah, after that. This is, I think this is the second paragraph. Excuse me. It was leading into it. It was the first paragraph was setting up the game. Here's the second one. What followed was utter euphoria, unseen in Starkville since they announced the opening of a new Bass Pro Shops. The fans stormed the field, pulled down the goalposts, and, we assume, carried them off to be displayed at the town's most sacred shrine, the Chili's off Route 12. What 2 shots in that. First saying, well, I haven't been this excited since they opened a Bass Pro Shops. I mean, I like Bass Pro Shops, so I would be excited, anytime if I was in a city and one open. But and then to be and took it to the most sacred shrine, a Chili's. Ugh, that game was gross, but that description was very funny. This on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Home and homes are great, but I'm not crying about marquee neutral site matchups. It's not like we're the only school that does the big neutral site game, so it's not some slight.
No. I'm just saying that the beef up the home schedule.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm talking about. I totally agree. Everybody's doing these MTEs and just neutral site games.
I'm glad that you have this many to be excited about.
Yes, absolutely. There's a greater willingness of everyone to play those games. That's why I'm applauding the home and home, because very few people want to play those, and probably us to a certain extent. And the key thing is Texas Tech is no longer doing, hey, Indiana, we'll play a 2-for-1 with you, or we'll come to your, when I think the trade for us playing them and when they came here to open the arena was us going up there and playing them, and then going back and playing in Indianapolis in the Hoosier Classic thing. They hosted an MTE there in Indianapolis, the University of Indiana. I'm trying to make sure I'm not confusing that with the NBA, but and so those type things, to get that done back in those days would require a 2-for-1, or hey, that's we're not coming to your place. We'll pay you a lot of money for you to come here and play in front of our sold out arena, whatever. Kentucky's not coming here without the old SEC Big 12 thing, But we've had a lot of these good neutral sites and MTEs over the years and decades. But now we're to the point that we can hopefully get things like this scheduled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That with teams that are not only name programs, but who are willing to do it.
A side note for something that I hope that happens with it, and I think it should, just because I feel like the last 2 or 3 years when the emphasis has really been put on this, every single broadcast, when you have a Duke, when you have a Kansas, when you have a North Carolina or any of these like high profile stories, they pound when they have tough non-conference schedules as soon as the broadcast starts. And they say it in the broadcast 20 times. This 100% should and needs to happen for the Red Raiders whenever they're being broadcasted.
I'm not discouraging or not applauding for those MTEs and the neutral sites and stuff. I'm applauding for the fact that we're getting name opponent to play an actual home and home. That's all.
It's hard to even get them to say yes on there. And
absolutely. Absolutely.
It is Tech Talk on Double T 97.3. We'll tell you what's going on the other side.
The podcast put together with Red Raider fans in mind. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3. Presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
It is Tech Talk here in Double T 97.3, DoubleTSportsNetwork.com, and the Double T 97.3 mobile app, brought to you by Happy State Bank. Thanks for making us a part of your Wednesday afternoon. Clint Scott, Dr. Mike Gustafson, Roman Hernandez, and his Roman Island in ISO coverage back there. Press coverage on the board. It's not going nowhere. Right. That board is not getting past
cover corner.
Yeah,
I like it.
That board is getting 0 receptions today, and he's going to like it.
Not today, son.
DJ Puddin back there as well, Kyler Brown.
Other than the little hiccup earlier where we were playing tomorrow's hits. I'm not sure who was in charge there, though.
Look,
technically, it was emailed to Puddin. So
you two over there to my right in front of me, lock eyes and figure this out. Come on, guys.
No, we're good. Well, you know what?
Have a come to Jesus meeting in the locker room. We're going to get this team back on track. We're going to find that chemistry. We're going to go watch movies together. We're going to go bowling.
Sure.
All that stuff.
Sure, hold hands. The key there was
I'm probably not doing that one.
The key there was the recovery, right?
Right.
Something bad's going to, it's a 162 game season, Clint. Something bad's going to happen. How do you react to it? Mm-hmm. Did you throw headsets and stomp off and pout about it and the whole segment fall apart, or did you regroup and pull the thing together? And that's it.
Yeah, you gave up a bad drive, but the game's not over.
Nope, that's right. Cleaned it up and took care of business.
You can still win 100-7 just because you let a touchdown squeak through.
Please.
Somehow Somehow we're really adding up the coach speak here more than we ever have.
I like
You know
how
what's
I
funny?
went
I
from
like Coach
162 games to football drives, like in one sentence. I mean, we just skip sports. Next thing you know, we'll lose a face-off, right, Clint? And then have to miss free throws. We just perfect. We got all 4 sports covered right there. Really 5. Soccer, yeah. I don't call it a face-off. First kick, yeah.
This on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Gary, by the way, had guessed Mississippi for the painted squirrel story.
Oh, yeah.
How did they catch him? I guess maybe just the animal kennel, just like putting in some, I don't know, acorns.
I think
Little
there's
animal
ways
trap.
to trap those things, especially if you've got one running around in
I think
attic and that sort of thing.
If whoever in Connecticut is catching those squirrels and painting them red and blue,
come on.
I think if he's catching them by hand, he shouldn't get in trouble because that'd be really impressive. We convinced One Choice Woodman to try to catch a squirrel in the back one time.
Come on.
Would I have to convince you that he did not do very well, nor get anywhere near the squirrel?
Yeah.
But he tried. He gave it his all, 100%. Is Puddin teaching up the next generation? Can't think of a finer education.
Yeah, I agree.
He is.
That's pretty good.
Really,
there.
you should say Professor Puddin back there, not just DJ. Professor Puddin. Let's get another.
I mean, we got a lighting expert and that production room and a cover corner and the professor.
And then Long Jim Silvers serving up
two
delicious fried fish.
Too bad he already has a nickname, or Professor might be it.
That's his street ball name. Let's get another thought from head coach Joey McGuire, shall we? Something that he noted, and we've talked about, something that has stood out, maybe not in a great way. One of the few things that had stuck out in a bad way is penalties, specifically in the return game. He talked about fixing penalties.
One thing that we talked about yesterday, and we talked with in our staff meeting after the film was graded and talked to the team, the thing that we've got to clean up, I think we're 91st in the country in penalties. And so part of that, we are so much better in pre-snap penalties. Where our penalties are coming, I think we've had 4 of those penalties, on special teams after big returns. So we have to do a much better job of cutting those down. Talked about it. We're going to, really drill it this week, because a lot of it is just not knowing where the ball is, or understanding, that guy can't make the tackle anyway. He's not a part of a chance for them to make the tackle, and so it really doesn't affect the play until it affects the play and holding.
Yeah, so I mean, because we really don't have a plan to action there. But it's one of those that's like, okay, is that something that we're going to week in and week out continue to talk about? Or is it something that, hey, it's a good thing that happened against Kent State and Pine Bluff, and then when you played Oregon State, or when you're in Rice-Eccles in a couple of weeks, not looking past the Oregon State Beavers, when you're in Rice-Eccles in a couple of weeks, that's a non-factor.
Say it this way, when we're in Big 12 play. How's that?
Yeah, there you go.
You're not. Yeah.
Not looking past non-conference play.
No, I hear you. And I mean, yeah, it seems, I don't want to say easily correctable, but they immediately arrived at the way that they can address this, as opposed to, we're going to spend some time on this and then come a creative approach to, teach it, young guys, find the ball, like some of those things that are probably correctable with the practice reps. It was really interesting to hear him talk about, hands up. What did he say? Worship the punt returner or something like that. Like, he had a phrasing for it. And it was like, once you lose your block, to do. I mean, it was interesting. He was talking about how they teach that, and then how it can be drilled. And I don't think this is something that takes months and months to correct. Again, and I don't know if it's something as directly correctable, but I don't know that this as deep snaps, which is what the Beavers have been struggling with. I don't know that we can expect 3 bad snaps this weekend.
Sure.
I mean, unless they truly have no one on that roster that can fix that. But I just feel like we're going to get a better version of them. I'm not saying it's going to be a version that's good enough to beat us or whatever else, but them just being an unmitigated disaster to the level of their head coach doing the end of first half interview on the CW and dropping an F-bomb. Not an accident, not one that was overheard, but just to the reporter.
But you're not banking on this. You're not going like, all right, guys, on the game plan, they're going
to step one over his head.
We'll
Everybody
score when they
over.
mess
Yeah,
up. But at the
exactly.
same time, as bad as that was,
sure.
I can't imagine it's going to be clean here. Again, coach scheme-wise, you're not banking on it.
No.
But
I think they had deep snapper tryouts.
And it wasn't just, that's the big thing that's kind of led the conversation for them. And I get it because that's been a disaster and in some ways uncontrollable. But that's not the only thing that they have been messy with.
Oh, I know. I know.
I've got some numbers like tomorrow we'll get into when we really start diving into Oregon State. They cannot stay away from third downs. And if you're worried about your punt team, if you're worried about your field goal team, what do you not want to do?
Put them on the field.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It is Tech Talk on Double T 97.3.
This has been the Tech Talk Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.